There are nights when the sky feels thinner than we dare admit, when the stars hum low against the skin, and the wind carries a silence so deep it bruises the air. I remember standing beneath it once, breath caught between worlds, sensing not just the infinite above, but something else, a reflection, a tremor, like a heartbeat pressed against the other side of glass. Somewhere, hidden within the folds of that infinite black, there could be another Earth. A twin, not born from our stories, but waiting in the spaces where our eyes have not yet learned to see. If I closed my eyes then, I could almost hear her steps, soft, deliberate, over fields stitched from different seasons. I could almost feel the breath of another ocean, salted not by our histories but by dreams we never dreamed. A girl perhaps walked there too, fingers grazing the edges of a different kind of dawn, a sky stitched with unfamiliar constellations. Her shadow, pale and wavering, might ripple across sands our feet would never touch. And yet, she might pause, somewhere, as I did, feeling an ache without name, sensing me in return. The thought curls through the mind like mist, a mirror Earth, poised beyond the veil of knowing, orbiting a different sun, breathing a slightly different air. Parallel not just in physics, but in yearning, in the echo of footsteps on lonely roads, in the tilt of heads skyward during long, sleepless nights. Scientists whisper of multiverses, of brains brushing against one another in dimensions beyond sight, each universe a membrane trembling in an unseen wind. And perhaps, where those membranes thin, reflections bleed through. There's a theory called cosmic inflation, an instant of impossible expansion after the birth of everything, so fast it may have spawned infinite pocket universes, each a slightly altered echo of the next. Some like ours, some utterly alien. Some so close, if we could only step sideways, we would find ourselves staring into the eyes of another version of our own story, half forgotten, half remembered. The very atoms of our bodies might hum in recognition, and standing here beneath this paper-thin sky, I wonder, if we pressed our hands against the fabric of night, if we whispered across the dark, would someone whisper back? Would a girl in another world lift her face, feel the shiver in the air, and know that she was not alone? Or would the silence swallow both of us whole? It began perhaps with a signal too faint to trust, a pulse of light, distorted at the edges, arriving from a place where no known star should burn. Instruments shivered with data they could not explain. Radio telescopes, sweeping their silent arcs across the sky, caught whispers that trembled like lost songs against the static. Not noise, not random. Something patterned, something deliberate. And deep inside the algorithms, there it was again, a rhythm too perfect for chance. I imagine her standing in a room washed in blue monitors, fingertips resting lightly on a panel still warm from the day's-long vigil. A girl, young and tired, leaning closer as a second heartbeat, a second Earth, pulsed faintly through the wires. The room would be filled with the sterile scent of metal and dust, the hum of machines barely hiding the way the world tilted around her discovery. Her breath would catch, not in fear, but in the solemn awe of someone glimpsing a truth too large for words. Scientists called it gravitational lensing, a cosmic trick where mass bends light, like a glass of water bending a straw. Perhaps a hidden world had betrayed itself by the way it warped the light of distant quasars, creating echoes where there should be silence. Or maybe it was quantum entanglement, the ghostly dance of particles linked across impossible distances, hinting that the boundary between here and there was thinner than we dared believe. The more we looked, the more the universe seemed to stutter, to hesitate. Spectral lines wavered, shadows doubled, and deep space itself quivered like a reflection on unsettled water. It was not proof, not yet, but it was enough to loosen something ancient in us, something coiled tight since we first lit fires beneath indifferent stars. Sometimes late at night, when the city's noise receded into static and only the wind against glass remained, I thought I heard it too, a kind of breathless tapping at the edge of the world, a soft murmur, almost drowned by the heartbeat in my own ears, the sense that somewhere, out there, someone was searching too, someone tracing the same uncertain arcs across a sky they had never named. And maybe, just maybe, she had paused on a lonely cliff beneath a foreign sun, feeling the same tremor of impossible wonder, wondering whether her world was the original, or only a reflection of ours. There came a morning, if morning it could be called, when the light itself changed. It seeped across our sky in strange bands, not gold, not red, but something in between, like the breath of a flame slowed to a whisper. High above, among clouds too thin to hold rain, there bloomed a second sun. Not bright enough to blind, not near enough to warm, but real, burning cold in a place no sun had any right to be. I stood there, wind pressing salt against my face, and watched it rise. It hovered low on the horizon, mirrored in a sea that no longer seemed ours. Its light bent and fractured on the surface, drawing twin shadows on the sand, each tremulous and uncertain. And for a moment, I saw her there, on the farthest edge of the world. A figure blurred by mist and distance, her outlines stitched from the same broken light. She moved slowly, cautiously, as if sensing that something had shifted, that the world had deepened, grown vast beyond its own knowing. In that breathless hour, science collided with wonder. Theories of parallel worlds once whispered in quiet rooms now blazed across news feeds and minds alike. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, the idea that every choice spawns a new universe, spilled into the streets, onto dinner tables, into the dreams of children tracing twin suns on fogged windows. Astrophysicists argued about cosmic variance, about broken symmetries and hidden dimensions. But beneath the clamor, a simpler truth pulsed. We were not alone, not just among the stars, but within the very fabric of existence. The girl on the far shore might have felt it too. The sudden weight of being seen, of being real in a way she had never been before. Maybe she knelt, touching the water's trembling skin, watching her reflection split and waver. Maybe, just for an instant, she reached toward the place where our worlds almost touched. Fingers brushing the cold boundary of dream and matter. Above us, the second sun climbed higher, not erasing the first, but holding it in strange, aching harmony. Two lights, two earths, two histories threading through a single dawn. And in the breath between their rising, I felt it. The vertigo of infinite chances, the solemn joy of knowing that somewhere, somehow, another heartbeat echoed mine. If there is another Earth, suspended beyond the reach of our maps, then what stories unfold there beneath different stars? I imagine cities rising like coral reefs, slow and ancient, their shapes carved not by conquest but by the patient drift of rivers unseen by our cartographers. I imagine forests that sing in frequencies our ears have never heard, leaves trembling with silent storms of color. Perhaps on that Earth, the wars we waged never kindled. Perhaps the languages spoken there carry within them no words for borders, for exile, for ruin. I see her walking down a road stitched with moss and whispering grasses, her steps stirring the dust of choices never made. She pauses at a crossroads where no monuments to sorrow have ever been raised. The light around her is different. Thicker, maybe, or sweeter, scented with a pollen born from trees that dreamed other dreams. She carries something in her hands, not a weapon, not a flag, but a seed cradled like a promise. It is hard to look at her and not ache for the things we lost, without even knowing. The possibility of another Earth unsettles the mind, because it means that who we are was never inevitable. That somewhere, the great mistakes we etched into stone in memory might be no more than faint rumors carried by the wind. In quantum physics, decoherence suggests that all possibilities exist until observed, collapsing into the reality we know. Maybe in that other world, the collapse tilted differently. Maybe the rain there tastes slightly sweeter, the air carries less sorrow, the ground hums with different songs. Sometimes, late at night, I wonder if she stands in a room like mine, staring at a sky no telescope has yet pierced. If she wonders, too, about reflections slipping between worlds. If she dreams of hands she will never hold, names she will never know, cities whose lights flicker just beyond the horizon of thought. And maybe somewhere in the half-forgotten marrow of our bones, we remember her. Maybe that is why some mornings carry a sadness we cannot explain, why certain songs make the heart ache for places we have never been. We are stitched, it seems, to all the worlds we did not live. There are moments when the fabric between worlds feels thinner than breath, when the air hums low against the ribs, and shadows seem to stretch just a little too far from their anchors. I have wondered, if we could reach across that void, should we? Would the touch of parallel selves heal the fractures we carry? Or would it shatter us into fragments of all we might have been? I imagine her again, standing at the threshold of something vast and trembling. A door? Maybe, no larger than the width of a sigh, flickering in the half-light. She does not step forward, not yet. The wind moves her hair like a slow tide, carrying the scent of stone and ozone, the electric charge of things unspoken. In her hands, the seed has begun to glow faintly, as if sensing the proximity of another soul, another soil. There are theories, wild, half-forbidden, about what happens when two parallel realities collide. Some physicists speak of quantum tunneling, where particles slip through barriers they should not cross, vanishing from one world and appearing in another. Others warn of destabilization, that even a whisper of interaction between close but separate universes could unravel the delicate threads that hold them intact. One misstep and everything we know could dissolve into chaos, rewritten by laws we cannot comprehend. Would she see me if I stepped forward? Would she recognize the shape of longing in my eyes, the fractures stitched into my skin? Or would my presence unmake her, just as hers might unmake me? Sometimes I dream of that meeting, the unbearable nearness of two fates trembling on the cusp of collision. The air would thicken, heavy with unspent thunder. The ground might crack beneath our feet, scattering petals of dust into a gravity that no longer obeys reason. Her silhouette would shimmer, unstable, woven from strands of light and uncertainty. And yet, even knowing the danger, even feeling the tremor in the bones, part of me would reach out. Because what is life, if not the longing to touch the impossible? What is existence, if not the stubborn hope that even across the vastness, even against all odds, we are seen? In the end, it is not safety we crave. It is connection. Maybe, after all, there will be no crossing. Maybe the threads that tug at us across the void will fray and vanish before we ever reach their end. Perhaps the parallel Earth, the girl who mirrors our steps beneath a stranger's sun, will remain forever out of reach. A shape glimpsed through fog, a name almost remembered in sleep. I imagine her sometimes, sitting at the edge of a silver lake, the sky above her heavy with unfamiliar constellations. She dips her hand into the water, watching the ripples shiver outward, catching reflections that do not belong to her world. The air is still, save for the soft murmur of distant trees, the faint scent of something blooming in the dark. And as she gazes across the trembling surface, perhaps she feels it too, the thinnest thread of knowing, the ache of a connection stretched across time and silence. Scientists speak of cosmic horizons, boundaries beyond which light will never reach us, not because it is slow, but because space itself is expanding faster than light can outrun. In a way, every world is an island, adrift on an ocean we cannot see, separated not by distance, but by the ceaseless hunger of space to be more, to stretch farther. If there is another Earth, it may already be slipping beyond our sight, carried outward on the tide of the cosmos, lost to us forever. There's a loneliness in that thought so profound it leaves the heart hollow. Yet inside that hollow, something small and fierce still stirs. The knowledge that even if we never meet, even if our worlds remain forever apart, the mere fact that they could exist reshapes the way we see ourselves. We are not the center. We are not the only breath drawn beneath alien suns. We are a thread in a tapestry so vast, so intricate, that even our most fevered dreams barely trace its edge. And maybe she stands there now beneath her foreign sky, feeling the same small hope. Maybe she closes her eyes against the rising wind, feels the universe moving within her bones, and smiles. Because to exist at all, here or there, is miracle enough. And somewhere in the quiet between two earths, a question lingers, soft and everlasting. What if?